So we're here with Nimai Chandra Prabhu. It's his 41st birthday today. Haribol!
Haribol!
And his wonderful wife, Mother Pranasaki.
Haribol!
Haribol! who's just made some amazing prasad that we've all honored, and we had a very special pancake cheesecake. Hare Krishna, which is really incredible. Now for the real dessert, we're going to read some nectar from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, where are we reading from?
It's Canto 3, Chapter 12, Text 6.
Okay. So we can all start with the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nimai Chandra Prabhu, would you like to start?
6.
Just the translation, yeah. And purport.
On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express.
So maybe since you're just joining in, do you know what children didn't listen to Lord Brahma? Lord Brahma?
So the title is the creation of the Kumaras. So I think that kind of gives
I gave it away. I thought I was going to catch him out. Yes, you're
so
right.
I'm hoping it's the Kumaras.
Okay.
Should I read the purport?
Yeah, please.
Purport. Brahma is the director in charge of the mode of passion of material nature. Therefore it was natural for him to become angry on the refusal of his sons to obey his order. Although the Kumaras were right in such acts of refusal, Brahma, being absorbed in the mode of passion, could not check his passionate anger. He did not express it, however, because he knew that his sons were far enlightened in spiritual advancement, and thus he should not express his anger before them.
Well, as parents, what do you have to say about that?
It's hard not to check the anger.
Almost impossible.
It shows how elevated Brahma was to control his anger.
Yeah, it's interesting because he controlled it, but it was still there.
Yes.
Still. And I think it says it was natural. It was natural for him to become angry. Because he's in the senior position and he was disobeyed by his subordinates, by his juniors. So then it's natural to become upset. Although it says, although the Kumaras were right in such acts of refusal. So why were they right?
They were, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
I think that they were more renounced from the material duties as such. They just wanted to focus 100% in spirituality. And Brahma wanted him to look after the material affairs and creation and all these things.
Yeah. Wanted them to be progenitors.
Progenitors.
Because they were the firstborns. First 4 sons born to Brahma.
Yeah.
And he said, go forth and create progeny. And they said, nah.
It's interesting also because obviously Brahma is a devotee of Krishna, and the Kumaras weren't wrong that they were following a spiritual path, but yet Brahma still had that anger, which is interesting as well, because you might think that he would understand as a great devotee. So it's kind of this, it seems like there's a conflict.
Yeah. Contradiction.
Yeah, contradiction in terms of
Yeah, that's really powerful. Yeah, because he's got his service.
Yeah.
And he's created the Kumaras to fulfill his service to Krishna, which is to populate the universe. And they're saying, nah. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah. But actually, I think in the previous verse it was saying that their decision was based on a higher principle, even though he's the original creator of the universe. But their their decision was based on the higher principle of being absorbed and completely serving Krishna. So in that way, it was the higher decision. But here we see Lord Brahma was still upset.
Yes.
Yeah, so. Anything else anyone would like to add? Any other thoughts?
It's interesting, therefore, that these parents and kids and that sort of issue, kids not listening or parents can't get the kids to do something, seems to have started right at the beginning. Even Brahma had issues.
Yeah, not a new thing.
Yeah.
Children not listening to their parents is not a new thing.
I'll think of that next time.
Even Brahma, so we feel,
Yeah, even Lord Brahma couldn't control his children, so just think of us. Okay, should we read the next one? Text 7.
Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrows, and a child of mixed blue and red was immediately generated. The face of anger is the same whether exhibited due to ignorance or knowledge. Although Brahma tried to curb his anger, he could not do so, even though he is the Supreme Being. Such anger, in its true colour, came from between the eyebrows of Brahma as Rudra, in a mixed colour of blue, ignorance, and red, passion, because anger is the product of passion and ignorance.
Wow. Any thoughts?
Today I was just reflecting that I've been hearing quite a few classes the last few days, and I could not curb my anger when the children wanted my attention, and I wasn't able to give them my attention. And I was thinking, it's been a fair few years now that I've been practicing Krishna consciousness, so why am I, what's wrong with me? Why can't I control my anger? But this makes me feel better.
Have you produced a Rudra?
Not yet.
Not yet. Anything else? Any thoughts?
I'm just thinking in terms of understanding Brahma's anger. Obviously Brahma is a very elevated being, and therefore his anger is still in service, right? This is a clarification point as well, but it seems as though it's still in service, which is different to perhaps our anger when it's something that we're trying to find happiness within ourselves.
Yeah. I guess it was that sometimes devotees would describe how when Srila Prabhupada, he could get angry and be like, all of a sudden be like fire. Or they said he could be as soft as a rose or as hard as a thunderbolt. But sometimes I heard devotees describe that he would be like, he would get angry about something and then he'd just turn to another devotee and say, so how are things in Japan? And then it's like he would just use it as a tool. But obviously the challenge is that if we let anger control us, then it kind of, we have to control it and use it, I guess, and like you said, in service, rather than allow it to overtake us, which I guess is what passion and ignorance usually do. And of course, anger is also a gate to hell.
It's a dangerous one because we may look at this and think, oh, so that's okay, that when we use anger in the service of the Lord, it's okay, I can do that. But of course you've got to also be qualified enough to be able to see that, because otherwise you could use anger in service and actually fry out another devotee who then leaves the movement, and you've done something which is very negative in that sense as well. So knowing, and with Prabhupada, he knew who could also take it, right? He knew who he could be angry with,
Yeah.
And others, he would be, if he knew that they wouldn't be able to take it, he wouldn't necessarily use that with the risk that they may leave.
That's a great point also in showing that one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
That you also have to treat different people differently because everyone's at different levels or different stages and different capacities. Yeah, usually what is it? There are two personalities that are often discussed as using anger in service. Who are they?
Hanuman?
Hanuman, yeah.
And who's the other person?
Famous book we read all the time. It isn't the Bhagavatam.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Arjun.
Yeah. So he had to use. And I'm sure he wasn't like, oh hi, guys.
Yeah.
He had to get. That's what Krishna was trying to do. Was trying to incite his anger, especially at the beginning, right? By saying they'll call you a coward, Arjuna. Let people call you a coward. Trying to incite that chivalrousness in him. Interesting. Would you like to read the next one?
Text 8. After his birth, he began to cry, O destiny maker, teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place. Text 9. The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, do not cry, I shall certainly do as you desire. Text 10. Thereafter Brahma said, O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people because you have so anxiously cried.
I think it's interesting that, of course, it's seeming like at the moment that from his anger has been born another issue to deal with. So now he's gone from being angry at them, and then something else manifested. He started crying and demanding attention, and so sometimes from anger, usually it leads to some other thing. You're angry about one thing, but then because you get angry, then maybe it manifests other problems or challenges.
It seems again like children. They get angry, they start crying, so you have to then deal with pacifying them.
Go ahead.
Text 11. My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence: the heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity. Proper. The creation of Rudra from between the eyebrows of Brahma as a result of his anger generated from the mode of passion, partly touched by ignorance, is very significant. In Bhagavad Gita 3.37, the principle of Rudra is described. Krodha, anger, is the product of karma, lust, which is the result of the mode of passion. When lust and hankering are unsatisfied, the element of Krodha appears, which is a formidable enemy of the conditioned soul. This most sinful and inimical passion is represented as ahankara, or the false egocentric attitude of thinking oneself to be all in all. Such an egocentric attitude on the part of the conditioned soul, who is completely under the control of material nature, is described in Bhagavad Gita as foolish. The egocentric attitude is a manifestation of the Rudra principle in the heart, wherein Krodha, anger, is generated. This anger develops in the heart and is further manifested through various senses like the eyes, hands, and legs. When a man is angry, he expresses such anger with red-hot eyes, and sometimes makes a display of clenching his fists or kicking his legs. This exhibition of the Rudra principle is the proof of Rudra's presence in such places. When a man is angry, he breathes very rapidly, and thus Rudra is represented in the air of life or in the activities of breathing. When the sky is overcast with dense clouds and roars in anger, and when the wind blows very fiercely, the Rudra principle is manifested. And so also when the sea water is infuriated by the wind, it appears in a gloomy feature of Rudra, which is very fearful to the common man. When fire is ablaze, we can also experience the presence of Rudra, And when there is an inundation over the earth, we can understand that this is also the representation of Rudra.
Well, that's powerful. It's amazing how Prabhupada describes, I imagine that's coming from the Acharyas or something, but where, how he describes that. I mean, if you think about it, you can picture all those situations. There's like a fearful, like it's kind of cloudy, but if it got really cloudy and started thundering and, it'd be like, you'd feel fear, which is what you feel when someone's angry, right? Or if the sea starts to, produce like if there's a hurricane or something like that. Very interesting. Any thoughts? Any other thoughts on so far? Maybe how it relates, maybe I was thinking, because Prabhupada's making the point that karma is the cause of krodha. So then if Lord Brahma was angry, then there must have been some, because he says karma, which is the result of the mode of passion. He says something here. The attitude of thinking oneself to be all in all. So thinking oneself as the boss or the chief, of course, which Lord Brahma is in one sense, but he got angry with the Kumars, but they weren't wrong. So in one sense you could think, well, okay. I guess it's like, was it, kids will be kids. It's like, you can get upset as much as you like, but it's not really gonna change these things. But how to deal with it, and like you said, sometimes we have to use it, maybe, but I think we should probably use it very sparingly, I guess.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
But yeah, this point of egocentric, because if you think about the scene, Brahma's just manifests from the lotus flower blooming from Mahavishnu. So he's realizing, but he hasn't realized, the Brahma Samhita. So he's seen revelations, and then he's realizing, oh, and I'm the next in line. You've given me the baton, and then okay. So the Kumaras come, and then he's like, now you go forth and do this, and they're like, no. It must have been like, oh, wait, what? Do you know who I am? First, I'm your dad, but secondly, I'm Brahma. I just created everything. So that move, again, that original thought of, that ego, originally stems from there. Because that's when you get angry and you think, I can't control this. I'm getting frustrated now. I can't.
There's also a place, I think, it was before this, because there's a few different places in the Bhagavatam where it's described about Lord Brahma's appearance, but he also prays, might be in the end of the second canto, but he also prays, please, because it was around the seed verses of the Bhagavatam, the Chatra Shloki, where he asks, please, you're asking me to create the universe, but please help me to do it in such a way that I don't become proud. Remember, he was praying like that. So, and then the Lord blessed him and said, "Yeah, no problem. I bless you because you're speaking like this and requesting like this, then that's your qualification." So, it's probably it's also Leela, a lesson for us, but obviously it's easy to get angry.
It's quite. He's quite descriptive in the sense that clenching his fists and kicking his legs. He was
like
really
a baby.
angry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what people do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Red hot eyes, become burned, can burn you like fire,
I'd say Brahma did it too.
What do you expect me to do, kid? Even though Brahma lost. Anything else?
We were recently in Sussex, and it was the day we were leaving, and the whole week the sea had been so calm and gentle, and that day I think it was Purnima, so or Amas, and it was a completely different situation. Huge waves crashing against the rocks, and we literally had to hold on to just stay in our places. So you can really see it here where Srila Prabhupada says, when the wind blows very fiercely and the sea water is infuriated by the wind, it appears a gloomy feature of Rudra. So yeah, it's thought about that.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that Rudra principle, it's like, it's not just a personality, but it's a principle. Principle of anger that permeates all these areas. The heart, the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air itself, which is the wind, right? And fire, water, earth, the sun. He hasn't mentioned the sun yet, or the moon, or austerity. He stopped at earth, I think. Inundation over there. Okay, should we read to the end? And then we can conclude. There are many earthly creatures who constantly represent the Rudra element. The snake, tiger, and lion are always representations of Rudra. Sometimes because of the extreme heat of the sun, there are cases of heat stroke, and due to the extreme coldness created by the moon, there are cases of collapse. There are many sages empowered with the influence of austerity, and many yogis, philosophers, and renouncers who sometimes exhibit their acquired power under the influence of the Rudra principle of anger and passion. I was going to say. The great yogi Durvas. We did a drama earlier and I played Durvas. Yes, so under the influence of this Rudra principle, Durvas picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, and a Brahmana boy exhibited the Rudra principle by cursing the great king Parikshit. Shringi, right? When the Rudra principle is exhibited by persons who are not engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the angry person falls down from the peak of his improved position. This is confirmed as follows. Yenye ravindaksha vimuktamaninas twayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya aruya kritrena param padam tata patyanta donadritta yushmad angrayaha. That's from the Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Text 32. The most lamentable fall down of the impersonalist is due to his false and unreasonable claim of being one with the Supreme. Anyone recognizes that verse, where it's from? 10:2:32. I'll look it up. Any thoughts on that?
Interesting. The snake, tiger, and lion are representations of Rudra.
I wonder why the snake, the tiger and the lion, you can see a bit more. There's some similarity, but the snake is a bit...
Well, isn't it the snake and the scorpion are the two living entities? Prahlad Maharaj says that even a saintly person will kill them because they're just endowed with venom and poison and the tendency to strike.
Okay.
And that story, right, of the frog and the scorpion. You know that story? Prabhupada tells it that the scorpion comes to the edge of a river or a lake or something, and he wants to get to the other side, and the frog comes up and he says, "Mr. Frog, I really want to get to the other side of the lake. Can I hop on your back and you can ferry me across to the other side. The frog says, no way, man, you're a scorpion. He says, no, I won't sting you. And he said, no, that's what you scorpions do. And he said, no, I promise I won't sting you, because if I sting you and we're halfway through, then we're both going to die. And he said, oh, I don't know. And he said, anyway, I want to get to the other side. You can take me. I promise I won't sting you. And so he let him on his back, and he started swimming across the lake, and halfway he heard a noise, and he looked up, and the scorpion just went and stung him. And right before the venom caught him and he sunk, he said, why did you do that? And he said, I can't help myself, I'm a scorpion. So it's just like that that's the nature, the nature of the scorpion. So that's that famous story, right? Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was at the Gaudiya Math, I can't remember, maybe it was in Mayapur, or it could have been maybe in Calcutta, but probably in Mayapur. And a snake came in the backyard, and he was like frozen. And then he looked up, and Bhaktisiddhanta came out onto the balcony, and he just said, kill it! And then the devotees grabbed some shovel or something and chopped it up. And Prabhupada said he was really bewildered. Why would a sadhu
Say that.
order them to kill a snake, And then later, he read in Bhagavatam that even a saintly person takes pleasure in seeing a snake or a scorpion killed. So it's interesting. I found that verse. I mean, I recognize it. I've heard Prabhupada quote the first two lines before. 10:2:32. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, what is that? Yeah. Aravinda Aksha, lotus-eyed. Anyway. There are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes of attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So this is that verse about that they merge into the Brahma Jyoti. But they fall down because they have no attachment to the personal aspect of the Lord. Interesting. I'm so expert. Sorry. Anything else? He mentions the Rudra principle and Durvasa Muni and Shringi, because he became angry. And from that also so much other chaos was created. But at the same time we got the Bhagavatam came out of it. So, I guess out of Lord Brahma's anger for the Kumaras, Lord Shiva, the Rudra forms of Lord Sadashiv were created. So. Okay, anything else? No? So maybe we should conclude there. We could go on for hours like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you both.
Thank
very
you.
much for
Thank
joining
you.
and discussing. Hare Krishna, thank you. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki
Jai.
Jai.